At 6:42 a.m. off Venezuela's northern coast, the sea lay calm, gray, unbroken, and deceptively still. On the bridge of the Venezuelan patrol ship Guaycamacuto, the morning began like any other. Sonar screens glowed blue in the dim light, and the steady hum of diesel engines vibrated beneath the deck. For the crew, it was just another quiet watch in the Caribbean. Then, without warning, the ocean moved. 2 miles off their bow, the surface began to swell, as if something immense was stirring deep below. The water heaved upward, pressure breaking through the stillness. A heartbeat later, a dark mass of steel punched through the waves. Rising fast, unstoppable, a wall of black metal erupted from the deep, sending a column of seawater 30 feet into the air. No distress call, no radar signature, no signal, only silence and power. On the bridge, the alarms flared to life. The sonar operator's voice cut through the noise. Contact bearing 086, large displacement, rapid ascent. The captain froze for an instant before raising his binoculars. Through the haze, the truth took shape. It wasn't a trawler. It wasn't a freighter. It was an American submarine, surfacing deliberately like a giant revealing itself. Its hull was smooth, black, unmarked, but every sailor knew the outline. A Virginia-class attack submarine, nuclear-powered, fast, deadly quiet, until it decides otherwise. The Venezuelan captain called for general quarters. Engines roared as the patrol vessel turned to intercept. 19 nautical miles astern lay the coast of Puerto La Cruz, but the real weight hung before them. The submarine remained motionless, as if it owned the sea. Every bubble rising from its sail seemed intentional. Every second of silence, deliberate. To the Venezuelan crew, this wasn't just an unknown contact, it was a message. For the United States Navy, it was something called a presence operation. No threats, no confrontation, just a demonstration, proof that America could appear anywhere, at any time, in any ocean, without notice.
Legally, the submarine was in international waters. Politically, it was parked in Venezuela's front yard. Tension rippled through the patrol ship like static. Officers watched through binoculars. Sailors lined the rails. Cameras rolled, recording every detail: the distance, the bearing, the behavior of the intruder. The sonar display pulsed red and gold. Contact range 1.9 nautical miles, reported the navigator. CPA closing. The captain spoke quietly. Maintain course. Keep her steady. What he didn't know was that the encounter was choreographed, planned to the second. The submarine surfacing wasn't an accident. It was strategy, a statement in black steel and controlled precision, executed to remain lawful, yet impossible to ignore. From above, the scene was surreal. Caribbean sunlight danced across two vessels, one small, one immense, facing each other in complete silence. Between them, the water barely stirred. Inside the submarine, American sailors stood at their stations. No chatter, no movement beyond necessity, only the rhythm of breathing and the soft clicks of data being logged. Cameras tracked every shift on the Venezuelan deck. Radio emissions were monitored in real time. Every radar pulse, every frequency rotation, analyzed, recorded, and stored. Because this wasn't just about presence, it was about precision. At 6:47 a.m., the standoff began in full. Neither side spoke, neither side moved. Only the sea, still and waiting, carried the weight of two nations, one asserting sovereignty, the other projecting reach. From above, satellites passed silently overhead, relaying every frame and frequency back to U.S. Southern Command. The encounter had officially begun. By 6:48 a.m., the Venezuelan patrol ship Guaycamacuto held her course steady. The submarine, still half submerged, remained fixed on the horizon. Between them stretched barely 2 miles of calm, watchful sea.
Inside the Venezuelan Combat Information Center, the air was heavy with tension. Operators adjusted sonar gain levels, listening for even the faintest trace of movement below. But there was nothing. No cavitation, no propeller wash, no acoustic hint of motion. Whoever commanded that submarine was a master of the craft, and every still moment was intentional. Then it came. One single, crystal clear sound. A sharp, solitary ping. The sonar operator stiffened. Single pulse, bearing 085, active sonar. American signature. On the bridge, the captain exhaled slowly. No one spoke. The officers exchanged brief glances, but the meaning was universal. That ping wasn't aggression. It was recognition. A signal that said, "We see you." Through binoculars, the submarine's sail gleamed beneath the rising sun. The black steel shimmered with seawater, reflecting faint streaks of gold as it towered silently above the surface. For many Venezuelan sailors, it was their first time witnessing a U.S. Navy submarine up close. The sight was overwhelming. 7,800 tons of engineered precision, a machine designed to vanish into the deep and remain unseen until it chose otherwise. The crew stood silently. Some recorded the encounter on handheld cameras, others simply stared, transfixed. What floated before them wasn't just a vessel, it was a declaration in steel. Beneath the waves, the mood was starkly different. Inside the Virginia-class submarine, the U.S. crew moved with methodical calm. No words wasted, no unnecessary transmissions. Emission control locked. Every system humming within the narrow limits of stealth. Above, the radar mast extended just enough to maintain situational awareness. This was not aggression. It was deterrence, an unmistakable reminder that American reach could manifest without firing a shot. For Washington, operations like this carried an official designation: presence missions, quiet demonstrations of lawful power conducted under the protection of international maritime law. For those aboard, it was routine, a calculated surfacing meant to convey one message without uttering a word. Freedom of navigation is absolute. At 6:51 a.m., Guaycamacuto shadowed the submarine's flank, range closing to 1.4 nautical miles. The navigator's voice cut through the bridge. Range decreasing. Closest point of approach 1.3 miles. The captain's reply was calm. Hold speed. Maintain visual contact. Below deck, the sonar operator whispered, "Contact stationary." No propulsion detected. No one knew whether to relax or brace. The sea had gone unnaturally quiet. Even the ship's own engine seemed muted, as if the ocean itself were holding its breath. Above, sunlight glinted across the surface, tracing silver lines over the submarine's hull. The air shimmered with unease. This wasn't combat, it was theater. Every second of silence carried the weight of intent. In naval warfare, the first battle is psychological. Presence defines control. And in that moment, control belonged entirely to the United States. Still, the Guaycamacuto's crew remained composed. They tracked, logged, and maintained formation. Cameras captured every angle. Reports were already being drafted for Caracas, because in maritime diplomacy, even silence creates waves. By 6:55 a.m., the Venezuelan patrol ship's engines adjusted for current drift. The captain leaned on the bridge rail, eyes fixed on the black silhouette before him. Maintain 15 knots. Parallel course. Do not engage, he ordered softly. His crew obeyed without hesitation. From far above, orbital satellites observed the scene unfold. One American submarine, one Venezuelan warship. Two nations suspended in quiet defiance over a single stretch of open sea. For the U.S. Navy, it was another flawless display of maritime dominance. For Venezuela, it was a sobering reminder of just how narrow their reach truly was. But for the sailors caught in between, it was something else entirely. A raw, unfiltered fragment of history unfolding beneath a Caribbean sunrise. The ocean held its breath, still and gleaming, as two worlds measured one another in silence. The standoff had only just begun. By 6:57 a.m., the scene had frozen into a living tableau. The Venezuelan patrol vessel Macuto held steady at 15 knots. Off her starboard beam, the dark sail of the U.S. submarine towered above the surface. Silent, immovable, absolute. To the Venezuelans, it seemed a leviathan risen from the deep. To the Americans, it was simply posturing, a message to any observer that the world's most capable navy could appear anywhere at any time. Inside Macuto, the bridge glowed under flickering lights. The radar screen showed one steady contact. The sonar pulse reflected only stillness. No sound, no vibration, just the suffocating quiet of contained power. The captain leaned forward, his tone level but sharp. Keep recording, no transmissions, maintain visual. In the Combat Information Center, tension crackled. Operators whispered updates, fingers hovering over their consoles. A faint echo rippled across the water, then faded into nothing. Contact holding depth 0, still surface, no rotation. The sonar tech reported. Copy. The captain replied softly. Maintain position. He didn't need to explain what was already understood. The submarine commanded the encounter completely. Every pause, every movement was deliberate. Then, at 6:59, motion broke the stillness. The submarine turned slightly to port, slow, elegant, and unnervingly calm. "She's turning toward us, sir," came the watch officer's voice. "Adjust course," the captain said evenly. "Parallel formation, 1 mile spacing." Engines groaned. The Venezuelan ship slid across the submarine's flank. Both vessels now traced mirrored arcs through the morning light. Two silhouettes bound by tension. But everyone knew who led this quiet dance.
Inside the Virginia-class submarine, the American crew moved with silent precision. Cameras tracked the patrol ship's wake. Sensors logged vibration frequencies, radar emissions, and atmospheric readings, all encrypted and streamed to U.S. Southern Command. No need for a warning. The data itself was the weapon. This was strategic communication at sea, the kind of gray zone operation the Pentagon defined as lawful yet psychologically dominant. Above, Venezuelan gunners stood beside their .50 caliber mounts, not aiming, just visible. Their stance said, "We're ready," though each man understood the truth. If combat erupted, it would be over before the first round left the barrel. The submarine sail gleamed gold under the rising sun. Beads of seawar traced down its hull, marking the seconds like a clock counting down to silence. At 7:01, a faint mechanical whine carried over the waves. The Americans had extended an optical periscope camera scanning Macuto from bow to stern. The lens rotated, calm and unhurried, capturing every movement on deck. Inside the control room, the submarine's commanding officer watched through a stabilized HD feed. He ordered, "Maintain station, log bearings, mark optical returns." No emotion, no tension, only precision. To the U.S. Navy, such moments were more than tactical. They were diplomatic, perfectly orchestrated acts of strength and control. The message was universal. We are here. We are watching. We don't ask permission. On Macuto, the crew watched the silent giant hold position. The water shimmered in peace that felt anything but peaceful.
Range? The captain asked. 1.1 nautical miles steady, came the reply. Maintain speed. Both ships held their course like statues carved from motion. No dialogue, no noise. Just a hum of engines and the slow rhythm of waves colliding with steel. Then, the submarine's bow began to tilt. Subtle at first, barely perceptible. Sir, she's diving. All eyes turned to the horizon. The black sail slipped beneath the waterline. Slow, deliberate, inevitable, until only foam remained. By 7:03 a.m., the radar contact vanished. The sonar screen went blank. The sea closed over as though nothing had ever been there. But everyone aboard knew it hadn't truly gone. Somewhere below, it was still there, unseen, listening. For the Americans, the mission was complete. For the Venezuelans, it was a lesson. True power often speaks in silence. By 7:10 a.m., calm returned to the Caribbean. Waikamakuto's load scanning the water where the submarine had disappeared. No wake, no noise, only sunlight shimmering across the surface. Far beneath, the U.S. submarine cruised northward, every signal recorded, every reaction analyzed. It wasn't provocation, it was precision. On deck, the Venezuelan captain stared at the horizon, knowing the encounter's echo would carry far beyond these waters. The Americans hadn't come to threaten, they had come to remind. Power unseen, presence unmatched. And as the tensions lingered beneath the calm, one question remained. How long can peace in these waters truly last?